Greetings, beloved, divine, all blessed greetings and salutations. We're going in. Come on in. We're about to go live and invite
Your
a
show will go
friend,
live in 5 seconds.
invite a family
4,
member,
3,
invite a frenemy.
2,
Just
1.
come on in. All is a blessing.
Blog
Welcome.
Talk Radio.
Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo secrets and recipes. All is truly and indeed a blessing. Greetings. Come on in. Greetings. Greetings. Hello, 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 hello. Greetings and salutations. Welcome. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Welcome.
Come back home to Africa. She's calling your name to the wind. Come back home to Africa. The fatted calf and golden ring are waiting for you once again. Coming back. I'm longing for my family. Coming back. Out of bondage and now I am free. Da 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 da.
Come on in. Yes. Greetings. Greetings. Thank you, Diane, Cameron, singer, producer, writer, performer of our theme music. Thank you, Diane, Cameron, Alam. Greetings, beloved. Greetings and salutations. Welcome. Come on in. Come on in. Sit with me for a while. Come on in. I got that spiritual food in my plate. Come on in. Come on in. Ain't nothing wrong with the buffet. Ain't nothing wrong with the buffet. Come on in, come on in. There's something for everyone. There's plenty for all. Greetings. Greetings. Come on in, come on in. Greetings, come on in, come on in. Welcome, welcome. All is a blessing.
Come back home to Africa. Come back home. Come back home to Africa. Come back home. Da, 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 da,
Greetings, divine, all blessed, peace and love, joy, and let me make sure I'm unmuted. Forgive me. Let me make sure my Blog Talk Radio is not on mute before I get talking and it can't be heard. Forgive me, Blog Talk Radio. I had you on mute. Divine, all blessed, peace and love, joy and prosperity, and welcome yet again to another edition of Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes, understanding that all is truly indeed a blessing if you can just see beyond the veils, for it's all just an illusion and a test and one of the greatest divine mysteries of this life cycle. This is my constant prayer, my mantra, affirmation, reverberation, reiteration, and it is my ever-living reality. It is crucial and critical to everything that I do, I think, I understand, I understand. It is my point of beginning. It is my point of crystallizing all that we might experience here on Mother, Father, Earth. And it is my personal place of power and understanding. It is the place where I begin. It's the place where I end all my endeavors, understanding that I and I alone create and co-create my divine destiny. And I alone create and co-create my divine, all blessed reality. And so it is. Ashe. Asheo. Ashe this Monday, May 11th, 2020. All is truly and indeed a blessing. Listen, I say that every day. It is my intro. It is indeed my mantra. But people ask me, how do I do it? Why do I do it? What keeps me doing it? Etc. It's all as a blessing. It's that simple. It's all as a blessing. I don't quit. I don't stop. I don't give up. I see the challenges as indeed just that. Challenges, tests, illusions of some greater power that we all have the choice, have the option to personalize, to utilize for our own growth, and in so doing, that of your friends, your family, your community, and ultimately humanity itself. This is not a one-stop destination. This is not, give me a set of chores, let me handle those chores, and I'm done. This is a life journey. And if I'm not clear, Voodoo is a life journey. ATR is a life journey. It can be observed, it can be researched, it can be studied, it can be looked at, you know, but when we say it's us, when we say it's here, when we say it's who you are, when we say it's you and I, then it takes on a whole nother level. I like to describe it as a garden, and you build your box, your planter, your space, your crate, your pot, wherever you might create your garden. And you can be creative in the creation of a garden, by the way. You don't necessarily have to have your crops in the ground. Very few of my crops are in the ground. You don't necessarily have to have a whole lot of space. You just have to be creative and understand the foundational parts necessary for fruition, for growth, for productivity. So you start with a box. We like to call that a sacred space here in this room. And so you have your dirt, and you have your fertilizers, and you have all the good stuff, the nutrients that go into the development of the future flower or fruit or produce to come. And then you plant seed, and not just any seed, the best seed you can acquire. And some of us don't do that well with seed. I like cuttings. I like to get a little trimming, a little cutting, nurture it in some water, wisdom, knowledge, information, science, math, and our ability to be fluid in the world. But we put our cutting in some water and we allow it to root. we allow it to form some roots on it first. And then you take that out, and then you might transfer it to a nice sized pot or in the ground, depends on where you're developing your garden. And then you nurture that, and you give it just enough water, and you allow it plenty of sun, and you allow it to grow and to develop. And some of us that are really into our gardens, that are really into our herbs and roots and vegetables and iwe, we take it like it's personal, like it's family, for indeed it is, to grow something, to nurture something, to hand care for something, and then to watch it grow and sprout and develop, and then bear seed and bear fruit, and then provide you future cuttings for the development of future gardens. So without that foundation in place, everything you put on top of that is going to fall through. Everything you put on top of that is going to rot. Everything you put on top of that, it's just a facade. It's just a cover-up if you don't address what's in the ground, if you don't address what's at the root system. And so every day, I say we must acknowledge in all things our ancestors. And whether you get that or not, the moment you breathe, the moment you wake up and realign with your humanity, with your physicalness, you're standing up and your ancestors are standing up in you. They're in your DNA, they're in your blood, they're with you. Now you can choose to not hear them, to ignore them, to believe that they only reside, over there, in that cemetery, that there may or may not be something yet beyond. But indeed, from the scientific perspective, from the mathematical perspective, they're here and they're with you. And so we acknowledge them in all things, and particularly today in the ritual calendar of things. My students, my initiates, my godchildren, they know what time it is. They know the day of the week. And so they understand sort of the flow that I'm moving in right now. So we also acknowledge on this day the spirit of the white cloth. Oh, I've got magical things in my basket. I've got all kind of magical things in my basket. And we acknowledge that great yami, that great power of women. It's so powerful that it's seen as more powerful than nature itself, than humanity itself, and it's often misrepresented, by the way. But the ability for a woman to produce life, to give birth, to create or recreate the next generation, that's not witchcraft, that's divine magic. That's magic and science at its height. And so we acknowledge in ATR, we acknowledge within the systems these great powers. And of course, we cannot ignore Omalu. Dare we ignore Omalu, Babalu Oye, in the spirit of the season and in the weather? So I must briefly acknowledge, before I move on into my topic, the spirit of the day. Understand, there are spikes occurring. There are spikes happening. It might not be in your town. It might not be in your city. It might not be in your parish. It might not be in your county, but there are spikes occurring. I told you, look at Atlanta. Look at some of these areas that were so quick in wanting to open up. Just pay attention. So I still say, be careful, be clean, be studious, be attentive, be aware, be conscious, but by all means, stay home. Continue to stay home unless you're an essential worker. And my hat's off to the essential workers, the people who are on the front line every day. And I include my delivery persons, the Uber delivery person, the Instacart delivery person, the Walmart delivery person. My hat's off to you, because you too are indeed stepping out into a new world every day. And some of y'all still don't get it. I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time on it again today, but some of y'all still don't get it. You ain't got no mask on. You're bouncing around, flouncing around like it's a day at the beach, like it's a day at the park, you know, and you're cool with it. But I also predicted a change in the news and the media, did I not? Are they now not really presenting some children at you? See, y'all like children. Y'all sensitive to children, y'all sensitive to animals. Okay, the cat with it, the tiger with it, that didn't get y'all. But now it's showing up in children in a very unique way, particularly on the East Coast, New York City, and as they've already said before, New York City is the gateway to the world. So it will find its way to a neighborhood near you. How it's now affecting children, and this is just really weird and unexplainable, the mutations that this virus is taking on as it travels the world and goes into new communities. And we put up barriers, you know, just like our antibacterial. Remember just last year, you know, we were being told we were overdoing the antibacterial. Y'all are using the antibacterial so much that you're now not able to fight off what used to be common, you know, commonly fightable things, you know, like staph infections and things of that nature. And now again, we're back in stage where you can't even find a Purell. I don't use hand sanitizer, by the way, just for the record. I'm a bleach guy. Give me the bleach by the gallon. I can mix up my own concoction. I can create my own spray. I can do my own misting to just make sure I got plenty of bleach, you know, and I'm good. So we have to acknowledge the weather. We have to continue to be careful. And I'm grateful for those of you who are taking the time out of the middle of your day at high noon, U.S. Central Standard Time. It's noon here. It might not be noon where you are right now, but I'm grateful for your taking this moment in time space to be a part of this sacred space, this squared circle of gods and goddesses. And I would too be remiss if I did not, in the spirit of Iyami, acknowledge our mothers and our great mothers. Not because somebody decided to make it a holiday, not because the system acknowledges it, you know, as a part of their holiday structure, but because it is. And it is a moment in time where more people than not are focusing energy on the mother, at the mother, towards the mother, about the mother, inwardly and projectively, outwardly. It's a time that's not so great for some of you. It's a time that dredges up bad memories for some of you. It's a trigger point for some of you when we address these holidays, Christmas and New Year's and Valentine's Day, and for sure, Mother's Day and Father's Day. Many of you know my story. My mother has written her story. My sister Wapani has written her version of our story. I'm yet to write that particular version of the story. But many of you know my story. You know my background ain't been the best. I come from the streets and the hard knocks. You know, I also come from a great place culturally. My Afrocentric edge comes from my mother and growing up in Washington, D.C. in the 1970s. Being there when consciousness was forming, when movements were forming in our community and ultimately in our society. Movements and activities that we now today tend to glorify. So when I am approached with holidays, and I want to say these Babylon-like holidays, these systematic holidays that have this religious undertone, but then also this symbolic undertone, and then also this in God we trust undertone, because there's always that money element attached to our demonstration, if you will, of these holidays. But then there's that population, and I beg to say it's a large population of people who have to push down the past, who are pushing down emotion, who are not trying to think about these holidays and all the trigger points that they register for them. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the work that my mother and I have done to heal and to move forward. I'm grateful that my mother is still alive and I still had the opportunity to heal and create a new day each and every day with my mother and the relationship to my mother and ultimately to my sister and then my family. But for those of you, particularly when we're looking at ancestral work, I often say we're talking about ancestors, not relatives. Don't get the two discombobulated. You know, the emotions are connected. The energetic ties are there. The family ties are there, you know, but don't confuse setting up a sacred space for, acknowledging in that space for your ancestors with your relationship to your relatives, living and those who've gone on. Because that work has to be healed. That work has to be addressed. Otherwise, it shows up in other places. It shows up in other arenas. It shows up in your health. It shows up in your career. It shows up in your relationships. It shows up in your children and how your children then go out into the world and see the world. For those of you who are still operating from that great magical book, even it says the sins of the parent fall onto the child. It's assumed that the blessings fall onto the child. That's a given, you know, but the sins, it was important to document the sins falling onto the child. And many of us are no longer comfortable with, or may have never been comfortable with the word sin and how we view sin and what sin is. So let's say toxic energy. Energy that's toxic. Understanding that all energy is absolute. All energy is absolute. We can move it around, reshape it, use it for one thing over here, like the produce in our garden, you know, and then use that energy over there for something separate, for something different. It's the cycle of life, if you will. It's the cycle of creation and recreation. But if we don't heal the roots, take care of the roots, make sure the roots are pulling from fresh water, cool my head, cool my house, cool my space, but also pulling from nutrients. You know, so when we think of Babalu Oye, the antidote, when we think of Iyami, the great power of women, the great feminine energy that exists, divine energy that exists in the universe. Our next step is, how do we manifest that? How does that show up in who and what I am? How do I walk in that every day? So it's easy to show up at Christmas in a snapshot on your Instagram. It's easy to show up at the club, at the party, in a quick video, you know, in your Facebook space. But there's that space that we don't always see in this realm, that can be assumed in the social stratosphere, but I can feel it. Woo! As an empath, I take it in, and I have to address it. Otherwise, it becomes my problem. Otherwise, it then spills over, and the healing has to be addressed. There's no such thing as I'm over it, I'm done, it was in the past, I'm okay, I'm good, I got a life now, I got kids to raise, I got relationships to maintain, I got to keep my lights on, I got to keep my power, and not address the root, and not address the source, and not address the center. Oh, it can be so simple. It can be so simple. It could be as simple as a circle and a square and a triangle. But we all have that unique combination, that unique mixture that makes us God and makes us goddess, but it also makes us responsible for. It also gives us authority over. It also gives us stewardship over. Not just that which the divine creators innately, inherently gift to us, but this that we're now creating, this that we're now recreating. And so we must heal the mothers. We must heal our relationship to the mothers. And it cannot just, and that's why I said it in that order. It cannot just be me and my relationship to. We've got to heal the mothers. And then we must heal our relationship to and with the mothers. It shows up how we treat our women. It shows up in how we treat our girls. It shows up in what we accept in society from our leaders, from our politicians, from our government. It's a mirror image of what we believe innately. Remember, when we say society, you're talking about you. You're talking about me. Often when we say government, we're talking about you. We're talking about me. And we all have our influence. We all have our role. It don't require you to be a politician. It don't require you to walk the picket line. It don't require you to do anything but to stand up in your truth, in your truth. And our truths as a country, as a nation, as a community, as a people, as individuals needs healing, needs healing. And I'm here to do the healing. I'm here to address the empowerment that's associated with the healing. Often, people come to voodoo for magic. People come to voodoo for the quick fix. People come to voodoo for a specific person, place, or thing. It's not often organic evolutionary process of, I want to get better acquainted with my lineage. I want to get better acquainted with my ancestors. I want to fill in the blanks. That's often a byproduct. That's often an extra blessing of the lights coming on and some knowledge and some awareness in the process of doing the work. Now, particularly in this house, how the work is structured. You can't move without your ancestors. You can't choose without your ancestors. I know in a literal sense, some of y'all are still trying to digest that, but it's right here. It's right here. And so there's no such thing as, I'm my own man. I'm my own person. I'm standing on my own 2 feet. I've made all my own decisions. I'm operating in just purest of autonomy and clarity in the midst of this storm that is life, without influences, without having developed roots, sometimes roots that run deep, sometimes roots with various systems attached to it that run right back to who your mom and them is, who your daddy and them is, who your people is. Who are you? Who are you? And so you can't come at the voodoo without you. And without getting naked. I love Santeria Experience. I know some of you all are familiar with that book. I love Maureen, I think that's how you pronounce your name, Gonzalez, Whippler. Love Santeria Experience. Read it, reread it. Me and another reader, Tarot Leo Brown, were talking about this particular book yesterday and how eloquently she demonstrates her experience into African religious systems, what we commonly refer to as ATR. Now, if you're familiar with the book, you know she's Latina, she's Hispanic, and she's sharing a very unique and specific branch into these traditions. But I love the book. It's a gateway book. I want to say it was the first Voodoo / Orisha / ATR oriented book that I read. And I remember the exact year that I read that book, 1986. 1986. I would have been 20 years old in 1986 when I read that book. And it changed my life forever. But as I got on the path, as I studied with people, initiated into systems, gained access to elders and mentors, I learned that she didn't give you anything in the book but her experience. She didn't give you the mystery. She didn't teach you the systems. She didn't give you any of the secrets, if you will. And indeed, someone who's authentically operating in these systems is not going to violate that code. Not for a book, not for fame or fortune, not for entertainment, not on ego, not to be seen as right, you know, in the midst of a social media argument, but it's going to protect the legacy of the tradition. And not because of faith, not because of belief, not because of some occult-like or cult-like power, but based on experience. And let me personalize this, because I say this all the time. I'm not here because it feels good, it looks good, it's popular, it was trending, other folk were doing it. I needed an alternative to the church. That's not why I'm here. That's not how I got here, and that's not why I'm here today. I'm here because Voodoo saved my life. Do you understand Voodoo saved my life? Imagine being 13 and not being allowed to come home until a certain time of day, not being allowed to have a key to your house in a big city like the DMV, the Maryland, DC, Virginia area. Then imagine being a runaway teen on the street at 14, 15, 16. Where do you go? What do you do? Who hires you at that age? What do you eat at that age? How do you secure housing at that age? You rely on the system if you're smart, if you're aware, if you know how to navigate, or the streets raise you, as they say. The hard knocks, as they say. So don't get it confused. My mother is college educated. One would say I had a quote unquote middle class upbringing around other middle class people. You know, the Cosby Show, I knew those people. I knew those people. Those people lived across the street from me. Those people lived next door to me. Those people lived on my block. That type of family was something that I saw every day. But I also saw heartbreak, tragedy, fear, abuse, violence, and then I'm on the street. So don't let my linguistics confuse you. Don't let my poetry confuse you. Don't let my great articulate style confuse you. Don't let my knowledge and wisdom confuse you. I'm from the street, just like you. I've been through hell and back, just like many of you. And in some cases, you wouldn't even begin to understand. You would begin to understand. If my background wasn't extraordinary, my sister, my mother wouldn't need to write 3 books, nor would the books be successful. But they are, because the background is that extraordinary. So I'm not impressed by fear. I'm not impressed by anxiety. I'm not shut down by the challenge. I'm not shut down by the emotion that is often brought up when working with ATR. And it's not something that people say, it's just a feeling you get. We all want the good, fluffy stuff. We all want to bring my man back and help me hit this number and the quick flash and show of ATR-based traditions. But how often do we see the work beyond beloved Iyanla Vanzant? How often do we see the work being demonstrated and then brought out? So where people can see that there's an option here. There's a way around this here. And I know sometimes people think, man, he must have the best life and he don't seem to have a problem in the world. And he seems to be doing, you know, his voodoo thing. And all of that is relatively true, relatively speaking. But I don't want you to forget where I came from, because I can't. The Mother's Day and the Father's Day and the Christmas, all of that brings all of that up, just as much for me as it does for you. And so in the context of this conversation, I can't skip over the topic of mental health. Mental health and demonology. In this fertile soil that is Western culture, it is ripe for mental health, for imbalance, for dis-ease. Okay, it's ripe for it. And the visual message, the subliminal message is, take a pill, send me 1995, and in 30 days, you too can be sexier and have a better body and be richer and be, you know, younger and whatever, you know. And so we now believe that's life, that's everything. And so it should come easy, it should come quick, it shouldn't come with any effort. And no offense to my religious folk, whatever your religion is, but I want to speak to the witches. You got to go through the fire, right through the middle of the fire, not over it, not around it. I gained my present inner standing by walking through the fire. Not just reading the books, not just following instructions, not just allowing myself to receive whatever is being offered by the elder, by the mentor, by the moment, by the experience, but by walking through the fire. Walking through the fire. And so you can't fear the work. You can't fear the uncovering and discovery of that which we would rather keep. That's Gade, that we would much rather keep buried, that we would much rather keep sealed in that coffin, tucked away. Ooh, it's over and done now. Let me move on. Life goes on. No, no, no. And that's what Getty comes to remind us. No, it's not buried away. It's not tucked away. You can't just forget it now. And stop, whoever I'm talking to, because I don't know who I'm talking to right now. Stop saying I'm healed, I'm okay, I'm fine, when that really means I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to address it. I don't want to, because that's walking through the fire. That's walking through the fire. And so I present in a multitudes of ways how to address those spirits, how to address those demons. You know, sometimes you got to use your imagination. Sometimes you got to do the inner work. Suffer is a tricky word, but I get you, Kiana. I hear you. But suffer, I don't choose to suffer. Does the athlete suffer? Remember, I gave that analogy. The athlete chooses to put a certain amount of discipline in, a certain amount of work in, a certain amount of sweat and stress in, aching muscles and whatnot to be an athlete. So be careful about our words. You know, did I suffer as a teenage runaway kid on the street? Depends on your vision. Depends on your view. It was also some of the greatest times of my life. Meeting people, being out in the world with nowhere to go at any particular moment in time space, only to humble yourself to spirit, to trust spirit, and to trust the ancestors to move through humanity on your behalf. Some of the most powerful people that I've met who changed my very life and my very existence would not have been in my path without the journey, without the challenge of the journey. So I understand, I do, beloved, but I want to use the word suffer. Yeah, it's a transformation, it's a transmutation. When the infant is coming into the world brand new, born, screaming and howling, you know, how, man, how stressful that must be. You know, a child can't see, that, you know, hearing, and now this light is in his face, you know, can knows that there are other people present but can't distinctly make out. You know, just imagine what the infant must really experience coming into this world. And so spiritual growth, spiritual evolution, spiritual transmutation, spiritual transformation requires work. It requires work. And it requires being conscious in the work. You can't just, you know, let me check off 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, and get done with this list. You got to be in the moment. You got to feel each part of the process. You got to allow yourself to sit in the truths as they come up. And that's why we get therapists and counselors and psychologists and psychiatrists and spiritualists and ministers to help us to then address what's being flushed out. Water will move things around, baby. What's coming to the surface? We have to then address that work to grow, to be bigger, to be better, to be empowered by it, so that it isn't just the tragedy of my story, so that it isn't just some negative baggage, you know, that I might have to carry around, you know, but then becomes a reverberation to, it helps to give momentum to that swing of blessing that the universe then is throwing your way. You know, it's now sending your direction. And so stand up in your work. I know I said a lot for 45 minutes. Let me check my chat. Greetings, one and all. Thank you so much, Keona D. Carter, our beloved moderator and co-host and assistant, for helping me to sort of maintain things in the chat. Yes, Neophyte Bokur, you don't work, you don't eat. I mean, it's a biblical frame of reference because it's a spiritual frame of reference. It's a universal truth. I don't care what indigenous culture you're pulling from. I don't care what system you're looking at. Let me check my phone lines. Area code 323. Area code 323. Welcome to the show. Who's calling, beloved, and where are you calling from?
Greetings, this is Keona.
Oh, Keona, I'm sorry, beloved. Greetings. How you doing?
All is a blessing. This is another great episode. I'm glad to be tuned in. And this is great. This is great content. But I was wondering if there were anyone, if there was anyone on the line holding for a live reading.
No. My phone line is 845-277-9143. Of course, if you have a question, comment, or request, do press the number 1 on your telephone keypad. But as far as I know, no one is actively seeking online reading at this time. But I appreciate you reminding me to mention that loud on air. Thank you for
Well, no, because I'm about to. Because I was wondering for me, if you want to keep talking, but I'm about to go and play. Pay. Because I want one.
Okay, well, I don't have when I don't get that ding. I don't have a ding from a PayPal. So
No, I'm going on right now.
okay. Thank you, beloved. Give me a moment. I'll be back to you. And I welcome anyone who might want an online live on air reading using a diversity of tools. I will be more than happy to assist you. Just send your donation, your $45 donation to my PayPal, paypal.me/The Divine Prince. And I'll be more than happy to assist you with that, to help you with that. Man, I had a very interesting weekend. I talked to other readers, other practitioners, not necessarily my godchildren, but just people out there in the community. Kiona, you might have some understanding to some degree of what I mean. Some of the people that you suggested, other people who are doing, spiritual broadcasts and what they might be saying and what they might be presenting. And it was a trip. It was really a trip. There's a thin line between entertainment and spiritual work, seriously. And I think to some degree, anytime we get on camera, and I'm talking about your camera, your digital device, your laptop, your webcam, there is indeed an implied element of entertainment there. You might not be posting for entertainment, but your viewers are often looking at the post from its entertainment value. And sometimes it's your pain, it's your story, it's your moment in time. And we swipe to the left or we pick and choose, often based on its entertainment value in this internet space. We make a distinction between, what I'm looking for a coupon, or I'm looking to buy, Airbnb or rent a car or something. And then when we get into the spirit realm of things, how does it look? How entertaining is the background? What all is going on in the frame? How much technology can they apply to their demonstration? And it can all be distractions from the truth, from the information, from the knowledge that you might be seeking. Kiona, beloved, what's your question? How can I help you today?
The phone was cutting out. You know my question?
Yeah, I said, how can I help you today? What's going on?
Oh, sorry. No, I just wanting to know like the time frame on, the business and when is it going to start picking up? Because it's picking up slowly, but I'm really ready to be at the height of it, and so I'm kind of wanting to pace it. I'm signing in right now to PayPal.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say, girl, I don't see it. I don't see it. But thank you, and you just reminded me.
No, I'm signing in. I haven't paid it yet.
You just reminded me to add another element to that. So for those who are listening, who might get the on-air $45 reading in the future, make sure when you send your donation that you enter, and it might be information you want me to know for your reading, but not say out loud. So put down your name, maybe. Put down your birthday, maybe. And then write down, I'm calling in now on air to ask about career, love and relationships, business, etc. And that will make this process smoother for us all, and not become so much of a technical infomercial for those of you who are listening. Time frame, as you know, Kiona, is very different right now, and particularly because of the season that we're existing in, and that's Miss Rona. the coronavirus. And so all my time frames have been altered. Traditionally, and I've been doing this type of tarot reading for 40 years. Traditionally, my time frame is 30 to 90 days. 30 to 90 days. But in the case of coronavirus, I literally couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, was up for a few days, was distressed, because I didn't know how I was going to now provide my quote unquote guaranteed professional expert readings and consultations and not be able to give a clear definition on timing. So I did a divination. I did several divinations. And what came clear to me was 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. That's the new time frame that I'm looking at in terms of any reading or divination of this type. Now, I can go a little bit further into the past. I can go a little bit further into the future, but that time frame is concrete. Now, in your first position, beloved, is the Queen of Swords, and she's inverted or upside down. And anytime you have an upside down card, it represents what you don't directly control. It affects you, and you can indeed affect it. For example, God. We can pray to God, placate God, beg God, plead with God, and God or goddess can absolutely respond. But it's not going to change destiny. It's not going to override God's divine understanding, which exceeds our limited earth plane understanding, our limited position in the cosmos, for instance, in terms of timing. So your upside down card, particularly one in its first position, is always going to be governed by, controlled by the goddess and then destiny. And we believe that God writes destiny. And as my mama likes to say, Evangelist Savage, God speaks in a soft, still voice. It's not going to argue with you. It's not going to shout. It's not going to put up a flashing sign. Hey, Keona, it's Wednesday of next week. God don't operate like that. And it requires us to be still, to be quiet, sometimes to fast, to not only pray, but to listen. I call that meditation. And to be centered spiritually. So you're still being asked to center yourself spiritually. Don't look at this as a delay. Look at this as an opportunity to do more of some sort of work. Now, she's holding a sword, legalities, commitments, contracts, what we're obligated to, what we have a sense of loyalty to, what we have a sense of commitment to. In the perspective of your question, indeed, some form of contractual agreement, often what we would sign with the pen, but we could also make verbally binding contractual agreements. Like, I'm gonna get you that money on Friday. That's a verbally binding contractual agreement, and you expect your money on Friday, and no shenanigans. So that is your swords, but it's again being directed by something not directly in your control. So that would be the weather, the season, the other humans that can show up in terms of your time frame and affect the ultimate manifestation of time frame that you're asking about, that you're looking at. It also still suggests some work in terms of a mantra. And that mantra is, I'm cutting away with, I'm doing away with, I'm eliminating what's no longer good, useful, or beneficial in my path. So it suggests that there's still some work of cleaning up, trimming the fat, being more precise that you could still do that can affect your upside down or inverted cards. It's followed by temperance. And temperance itself is a timing card. It's like God's timing, divine timing, things happening in its most appropriate season, things happening when they should. And it does suggest a shift now in the seasons. It also can suggest a shift in some of the dynamics of what's holding your business question together. And of course, you know the details. There are aspects of your question you're not going to say live on air, I would not know, but spirit knows, and you understand. But it's about being patient. It's followed now by the devil card, and that worries me because the devil card often represents something toxic, something negative, something addictive, too much of something. And if there's no literal active addictive thing, too much drinking, too much gambling, too much shopping, mishandling your money, mishandling your budget, if that's not what's in position, then we're looking at codependency, enabling the codependent. So someone else is wasting your time, wasting your energy, sucking up your emotion. It could be a sign of a vampire in your life. It could be a sign of a parasite in your life. It could be a sign of the good girlfriend who you think has always got your back, but always got something negative to say. Always a girl you should know, that's questionable. And sometimes that's masked behind belief. Some of the most religious folk in my life are like that. And you would expect them to be uber positive, uber meaning bigger than. You would expect them to be extra positive, but they are, oh no, that's not, oh, that's different, that's weird. That's, that kind of energy. And you got to cut that. You got to eliminate that. It's on the left side of the table. It's present in your life right now. And you still got to cut. It is affecting your timeline, even if you can't envision it. It's affecting whether things slow down or speed up, for real. So you've got to examine that. And I know by your silence that you totally understand what I'm saying. Now, the fourth card, or what I call my vertebrae or my backbone, that what holds the whole entirety of the reading together, is the Nine of Swords. And again, we're talking about things that evolve or escalate, things that get better or get worse. You're asking me, does this contract improve? Does it happen? Does it move forward? Or am I on the gerbil treadmill? Am I walking, am I wasting my time, my effort, my energy? Am I walking in place? And your nines clarify it. But what sits to the left of it is that devil card. You got to shake the devil off. And girlfriend, if that's a person, a place, or a thing, you've got to, those are your swords. You've got to shake that off. That's not healthy. That's not good. It's eating away at your very being. It may be convenient, and it might too be contractual, like you're sharing some kind of contract that has a specific date on it, and at that time, but you might have to choose sooner than that, not later. And what comes after the Nine of Swords is a star card, inverted or upside down. And that's important because many of you know I'm a celebrity reader, which is easier said than done, by the way. It's one of the most complex aspects of what I do, maintaining people's anonymity, people's privacy. As you can imagine, with high-profile people, celebrity people, it takes time and reputation. It takes time for people to trust you enough to know that what I'm discussing with you ain't going to be in TMZ tomorrow. But often with those individuals, I get this star card, and it is about balance. Your spirit world with your physical world, your earth resources with your water resources, and your air resources, and your fire resources in terms of elements. Even successfully independent entrepreneurs, people who do things that we view as sort of independent. Even attorneys, for instance, an attorney can work for a law firm, but some attorneys can also open their own firm, can also do contractual work, can also do other, so even those type of careers show up with this card, but it's being influenced by something that's not entirely in your control. Don't rush it. Don't try and manifest more than what you've prepared for. Don't try to manifest more than what you've put the groundwork in for. Don't expect magic if you haven't done the footwork. And I don't know your business, boo. I'm just reading the cards, okay? I'm just reading the cards, but it's there and it's on the future side. It's absolutely going to manifest for you. But if it's advertising, if it's research, if it's homework, if it's getting your name out, if it's creating an image, if it's getting your legalities together, your swords talk about licenses, contracts, trademarks, copyrights. Get your paperwork together, LLC. It's all of that straight, but it shows up in your best interest. Now, again, I keep going back to the presence of that devil, which could represent parasites and vampires and ghouls and goblins that could be around you that are affecting your ultimate outcome. What follows this upside down or inverted star card is the Wheel of Fortune. And it's also inverted or upside down. And this card is dicey because it just as it states, Wheel of Fortune. Spin that wheel and you get what you get. Spin that wheel and it's a toss-up. It could be the $1 million jackpot. That's your star card. Or it could also be the devil. Okay, and so what follows that Wheel of Fortune is this Two of Pentacles in its right position, in its right upright position. That represents a relationship. A relationship. It's a pentacle. Pentacles are the most physical, carnal, material item in the deck, in terms of elements, in terms of energy. So it would be ultimately your money. What you're asking me is, when is this, business thing going to not only move forward, but when is it going to be in my bank account? When am I going to see the money? Show me the money. When am I going to get the result of my labor? But don't negate everything I said before. Go back and listen to this in archive. I took a route to your success. This star card represents your success. And that Two of Pentacles is a partnership, is a relationship, primarily around business, primarily around your coins, your lira, your dinero, your dollars. And it shows up in your credit, it shows up in your housing, it shows up in your possessions, but it also shows up as class, status, lifestyle, family value. And the parasite that's holding you back is not going where you're going. They can't see your vision. Even if they can see your vision with clarity, they're not going there. And they're not going to be there when you get there, if you intend to be successful about this journey. Are you with me, beloved?
Yes, I'm definitely here. I can feel it in the pit of my stomach. At first I had tears running down my face because the spirit is speaking, and I already know you're the real deal, but I wasn't going to interrupt because I value the setting. I value the spirit guides that are coming forth in this energy. So I didn't want to interrupt with my thoughts, and I just wanted to be tuned in. But I heard everything you said, and
this is not a marriage.
I'm going to execute it.
Yeah, this is not a marriage, but it's a relationship. Listen, even in this devil card, I don't know how clearly y'all can see that because I don't have my StreamYard up on my screen. So let me put my StreamYard up so I can see it. Okay, down at the bottom there, and some of y'all know the Egyptian tarot. There are like two demons, two jinn, two people, two entities that are tied together with a chain. And the only thing that's holding them together is the devil that's standing atop the chain. So this is a toxic relationship. And often toxic relationships are close, personal, friendly, family, boyfriends, girlfriends, your sister, your brother, your coworker that you got to sit at the desk with every day. Often the most toxic of toxic relationships are right there up on you. So identifying who and what I'm talking about is probably why you are emotional. This probably hit it right on the head. And that Two of Pentacles show people who are not of shared value. Y'all don't share the same values. Just because you want the same things, you know, housing or to keep my job, or, you know, doesn't mean you share the same values. Many of you go back and forth every day with the same co-workers. It's only 4 people in your office. And y'all don't share the same values. Y'all don't share the same belief. Y'all don't share the same tradition, but you have to share that space. You have to occupy that space and get along, you know, if you're not going to end up in jail or lose your job, you know? So that's what this feels like to me, Kiana. And so I also feel like there's some awareness on your side where you know that once I get my own, once I can do for, this ain't going to be happening. You ain't got to say it. I can feel it. This won't even be in my radar. I'm just telling you in the honesty of the reading that it's toxic. And so that could represent something that could follow you if you don't handle it. Meaning, you do cut this relationship. You do move on. You do occupy your own mind space. But then whatever created the dynamics that allowed that to happen in the first place, it duplicates itself again. And so that shows up in relationships, partnerships, jobs. Some of y'all keep getting the same kind of job that keep working your last nerve, that keep breaking you down to your last bit of energy, only to quit or get fired and then go get another one just like it. Or then go and get another relationship just like it. You know, and it's a following of a path. And that's why we need to heal our mothers and our relationship to and with our mothers. It is critical. It is critical. It is critical to how we function intuitively, spiritually, emotionally, you know, energetically. Our fathers come through, but a very different energy, a very different polarity. But that ability to heal and to cut that which would otherwise harm you, pollute you, and do it in love, and not do it in aggression, and not have to go through like a warrior and chop everything down with a machete or burn the whole house down. And it's an art. It's an art. One of my things is I don't hang up on a client. I don't end it with the client. I don't divorce a client. I just don't do that. Because people have issues, people have problems, people have challenges. So I always allow that doorway for people to come back and heal, come back and address, to be able to come back and say, okay, I just didn't see it before, and now I do. So that's the danger with the power of Iyami, because you can literally create and recreate the reality you want, beloved Kiana. But if you're not clear about what don't serve you, then it can become luggage. It can become, if not a person, a type of person that you keep running into on your journey. Learn to say no. Learn to say, listen, I can't do it right now. Just let me sit quiet for a minute. Just let me have my moment. You know, you got to learn how to do that. I've learned how to do it with my mama, my sisters, my brothers. So certainly, it's easier for me to do it, you know, in business or out in the world. But I feel like I'm having deja vu, like I've said this to you before. You feel confined to me. You feel pent up to me. And so you got to get your own space. You got to create this business in your own space. in your own framework, in your own design, in your own image, literally and figuratively. It's got to mirror you. And those around you have to resonate and vibrate the best part of you. See, the danger of being the enabler is the enabler cares for people who might otherwise represent the worst part of themselves, or if not humanity. Oh, I have pity for the animal. I have empathy for the homeless person. I have empathy for the person who's struggling. But there's a reward there. You might not do it to be seen. You might not do it for the reward, but there is a inner reward for caring for and giving for. And that's how people get locked into the codependent, addictive-like relationships and behaviors. Because there is that part that's honeymoon-like, that's good and pleasant, and oh, we get along and we can talk about and we can share, and but then there's that other part, the minute you say, but let me get serious for a moment, and then they shut down on you. Let me talk about me for a moment, and then they can't hear you. You have to pay attention to those cues. And now I'm not talking to you, Kiona. It's somebody else out there that needs to hear what I'm about to say. If every conversation is about their problem, if every conversation is about their relationship, if every conversation is about what they're going through, and you're listening, and you're being a support, and you're the amen choir, and, oh yeah, girl, I understand. I don't blame you. But the minute you say, well, let me share my opinion. The minute you say, well, let me talk about how I'm dealing with, and then they can't hear you, that's the end of the conversation. You might as well be a therapist. You might as well be an unprofessional, unlicensed counselor. Because now you're just an ear. And sometimes people just want to hear themselves talk. Sometimes people just want to be right, feel right by projecting that out into the space. And then you agreeing. And then you saying, yeah, it's okay. And then you going along with it. Very few people expect the challenge to, well, just maybe I don't see it that way. Well, just maybe you might be misinterpreting, what's being said. Listen, that's how you test a 10. Listen, my mama taught me how to study the Bible. My mama. And so even as a voodoo priest, even as a spiritualist, I can connect with that energy, with that message. And the magical book says you got to test the spirit. You got to test the spirit. Your spirit and those around you at any given point in your journey, because all things are not organic. All things are not natural. All things are not a normal part of the process. And we live in a day and time right now where people don't even want to talk about the devil. People don't talk about Satan. People don't believe in the devil anymore. Or now it's a joke. Or now it's pop culturally somehow acceptable. So it's in what you look like. It's in your dark nails. It's in your, whited out pupil contact lenses. It's in the bleaching of your hair or getting, elaborate tattoo work done. It's all this sort of selfish surface, presentation without ever touching the root, without ever touching the energy, without ever touching the pain. That's where the pain is. But that's also where the work is. If it makes you emotional, if it makes you cry, if it makes you feel something, there's something there to either be embraced or addressed. And that's when we know we're doing the healing work. Successful healing work that don't require you to get caught up in any kind of loops, time loops, where we have to repeat cycles, repeat people, repeat energies, have that deja vu. Oh my God, I've been here before. I've been to this crossroads before. I can't believe I'm going through this again. You know, we all have the opportunity to get off that bus. We all have the opportunity to stop the karmic cycle of repression and repeated activities, to readdress, to reheal, to relook at what we have the opportunity to stop in one absolute moment and then lay down for eternity and then lay down forever. I'd much rather walk through the fire. I'd much rather confront. If there's a problem, an issue, a block, a complication, I'd much rather know about it. I'd much rather be alerted. I'd much rather be warned and aware than to just, oh, I don't want to know. Just don't tell me. You know, I'll just deal with it when I get to that crossroads. I've never been that guy. Never. And I grew up with people like that. I had a cousin who swore you're going to die of something, and she died of something. You know, I got another cousin that say, you know, I don't want to know the future. I don't need to know what's going to happen. If it's going to happen, it's just going to happen. Let it happen. And I understand that mentality, but that mentality also suggests helplessness, victimization, not having any control whatsoever in your reality. And that's simply not true. We absolutely have control. We absolutely can affect our reality. Absolutely. Listen, before I talk myself into a tizzy, call me at 845-277-9143. 845-277-9143. When you're ready with your question, comment, request, do press the number 1 on your telephone keypad. I'll be more than happy to assist you. Yes, D'Amico, that's a vampire. And you can test a vampire. It's very easy to test a vampire. It's very easy to test a parasite. But you yourself have to be clear and in the moment, clear enough to disconnect. Because if they can get you emotionally, if they can bring you back into the conversation, if they can drag you back into the argument, if they can say, then you're not disconnecting. You need to be able to, in the moment, recognize what's happening. You know, you might pre-plan. Okay, I know I'm going to get this phone call again. I know I'm going to have to sit across this table with her again. I know I'm going to have this moment with him again. So pre-plan. And that way you go in absolute positivity. Hey, how you, peace and blessings. All is good. All is a blessing. The weather's great. The children is great. And wait and see how many seconds it takes for the, well, girl, I got a pain. Dude, I'm dealing with this and so again. Man, but hear it and then steer it back. But you know, all is a blessing. We have an opportunity to and see how combative that spirit gets. So see, even I have to be conscious in the moment. It's not the person. It's not my sister. It's not my brother. It's not my cousin. It's not my client. Sometimes it's a jinn. Sometimes it's the jinn. So you have to be sensitive with humanity. We have to be forgiving and empathetic with humanity, especially when they're close to us, especially when we show love. You understand what I'm saying? But then when you clarify that there's a jinn present, you got to separate that. You got to be clear about what's driving the questions, what's driving the energy, what's driving the combativeness, what's driving the need to always go down this dark rabbit hole. But we can't inch our way forward into the light. Yeah, boo, that's a vampire. That's a vampire, and vampire. And at any worst case scenario, it's a demon. It can absolutely be a demon. Now, a demon will come to challenge you for various reasons. What you think you know, what you think you believe, what you think you understand, what you think you've healed and put away. Demons and the devil like to mock that kind of stuff. Oh, you say you serving your ancestors now and you can gave up on the church. Ha, ha, ha. But, you know, and then start quoting scriptures back at you. That's the devil. And the devil can then send out his imps, his demons, and in many cases, jinn, but jinn is a whole different level of demonology, to influence how you feel about things, how you see things, how you interpret things. It could be absolute light being offered to you, but you only see the darkness, but you only see the challenge, but you only see, you know, and so you have to be clear. I know I say it a lot. I'm going to say it a whole lot in the next 20 years. You have to be clear. You have to be crystal clear, like a crystal. You have to be clear. You have to be sharp. You have to have done your inner work. You have to have worked through your own feelings, your own emotions. Am I holding on to the past? Do I have negative feelings? Was I correct in my behavior? Did I misinterpret what was being said? Did I allow myself to view the other person's position? Was I able to be human enough to connect myself to the other side of the equation? Do I really understand how my mama was raised, how my daddy was raised, how my friend, girlfriend, you know, was acculturated into the world? We've got to be clear. And we understand this course to be a solid, but in clarity, like water, we have to be fluid. We have to be transparent. And we must flow, because life don't stop. It don't slow down while you go back and pick up the 6th grade. Life keeps moving. The world keeps spinning at an alarming rate, if you understand the math. we spinning fast in the middle of the universe on this on this blue marble that we call Mother, Father, Earth. So life and experience and time never stops, never slows down. But we, being the gods and the goddesses of humanity that we are, had the ability to cross over time space. And so some of you are stuck in the past. Some of you are stuck in a time loop. Some of you are stuck at a particular place in your progression, in your spiritual growth, in your emotional growth, in your mental growth. And so all you see is a repeat of that clip of video. All you feel is a repeat of that clip of video. And we've got to stop. Pull the line and stop this bus, stop this train, and at some point be willing to get off and do the work. I can't speak on mental health enough. As an empath, I absorb it. I take it all in. I've experienced it. I know it. I can identify it. I know it when I see it. But I'm not a professional. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a professional psychiatrist. I'm not a professional therapist. I am therapeutic in that we're dealing with spirituality and religion. But the problem is, with religion, particularly Black folks in religion, we don't need a doctor. We don't need a therapist. We don't need to see an MD. All we need is Jesus. And those of you who stepped outside of the Jesus thing, you know, you think now all you need is your consciousness, your stack of books, your great library of reading, without doing the work. It's not many people who can self-initiate. It's just not. It's just not. It requires you being able to be objective and sometimes view even yourself from as third party, stepping out and looking at you and the person, place, or thing or subject matter that you are addressing. But then you have to be high enough, elevated enough to be able to look down and say, okay, well, I see that perspective, but I also see how I'm acting, what I'm doing, what I'm bringing to the table, what I'm manifesting. And so, yeah, we've got to look at the body. We've got to look at the diet. We've got to look at what we're eating, what we're drinking, how we're living, how we're thinking. And in some cases, we got to cross that mental health road. We do, particularly right now. I'm shudder to think about PTSD as it relates to coronavirus for months, if not years to come. Me and my mom talked about her being in her prayer and meditation and looking at the experience differently from day to day. And we know things today we didn't know yesterday. We experience things today we didn't experience, the day before yesterday, I should say. And so every moment is an opportunity to readdress, to realign, to get clear about, and I often look at it and look forward in ritual work, when I'm working with my ancestor work and divination clients and students, I'll say, as frequently as you contact me, I need that updated photograph, because one who believes and understands their relationship to the ancestors is doing that work every day. It's operating that space every day. And if not every day, at least every 4 days, and particularly today. And so I look for evidence. I look for signs of movement, signs of activity. And people wonder, how does he connect that? From a distance, states away, sometimes countries away from what's going on in here with me. Because there are those things in us that we ain't moving around. We ain't touching them. They've got dust on them. They've been stacked away, packed away, pushed away for a long time. And now they have a dust imprint on them. And there's a psychic ability. I don't know what you call it. It's not telepathy. It's not remote viewing. But there's something that allows me to see that imprint, almost like a ghost. The very thing that you want to hide, the very thing that you don't want to talk about, the very thing that you don't want to address, all this energy sticks to it. And some of us can see it. Some of us can feel that. Some of us are in response, if you will, to that. And that's where the deepest ghosts lie. And those ghosts get passed down generation to your son, to your daughter, to your grandchildren, for the next generation to deal with. Much like how we treat our planet. Oh, we'll pollute the water today and not worry about the water for those who come after me. Oh, we'll use up all the mineral sources today and we won't be worried about those who come after us. We'll destroy the planet today and we ain't worried about 200 years beyond us. And that's how that's the Western vibration. So trying to alter that, trying to change that, trying to be conscious, that's a piece of work, beloved. That takes some great effort. That makes us extraordinary in this room. That makes us gods and goddesses in this room. That makes us magical in this room. Understand. This world doesn't even provide the incubating environment for that work to be done. We've got to choose to want to do it. And we choose to do it. And then we meet here and we share in this space and we give in this space. Forgive me, Keon, if I'm missing what's going on in the chat. Yes, the great go-between. And oh wow, my phone line. Forgive me, y'all. Oh, I got several hands raised. Okay, area code 612. Who's calling and where are you calling from, beloved?
Hi, this is Orlin. I'm calling from Orlin. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you better today. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
All is a blessing. All is a blessing.
That is good.
Give me a question.
Yes.
Or your comment.
We were talking about basically earlier sins like being passed down through the bloodline, and I was just wondering when if a person does like the shadow work and the healing of the generational trauma prior to them having children, after they have children, will those generational curses or traumas come back, or will they be eradicated?
To some degree, your question would require me to assume that the subject of your question, is absolutely doing the work, 100%. And look at that. Let's look at that from a different perspective. Ain't none of us perfect. All of us got flaws. All of us got issues. All of us got character defects. All of us have stuff that we need to continue strive to improve. And even if you say you aren't, you have to at least be aware to be the person who can say that that's not me. You have to know what your weaknesses are in order to keep them jarred up, in order to keep them in discipline. If you know that you have a problem with spending, for instance, then you know you have to keep a budget. Then you know you have to put up certain gatekeepers in position for yourself to prevent yourself from overdoing it, from crossing the line. So it would have to be assumed that the person who is indeed doing the work is a perfectionist and is covering absolutely every possible thing that can be imagined. And I don't know that that's absolutely possible. There are always going to be things in your family, in your bloodline, that also skip generation. And so you might not always be aware of. You might not always know of what's hiding in your dad's seed, what's hiding in your mom's egg, if you will. You aren't always aware. And let me use a common example so that makes sense. High blood pressure. We know that high blood pressure is generational, runs in families. It has everything to do with lifestyle, what you eat, what you drink, how you live, how you learn to process stress. And that's passed down generationally. So Sterling and I can be vegan and eat really well. Now Sterling might have been raised a vegan from birth. Ain't never had no fat. Ain't never had no meat. Ain't never had no chemically processed anything. I might have become vegan, at 20, 25, and so we have opportunity to obviously to shift our lives, to be healthier, to be more energetic, to be more creative. But that does not necessarily now wipe out the footprint of that came before. I was diagnosed as diabetic in 2000, 20 years ago, in the year 2000. I am probably one of the healthier people in my family in terms of body weight, body mass, what I eat every day. So I wasn't expecting to be a diabetic, but it's in my blood. It's in my genes. And genes don't always happen to every child of every generation. So my sister, Wapani, is not diabetic at all. And my father's children, as far as I know, I'm not aware that any of them are diabetic. So I may very well be carrying a very specific note, a very specific code that's traveling through my bloodline that I now have to address. Now I can heal it, fix it, repair it for myself. Absolutely, that has some effect on your children. There are scientific studies that have been done, marijuana, for instance, and the effect that the marijuana user, smoker, does that affect the eggs in a woman's womb? Does it affect the sperm in a male's body? And so research has been done on that, and then how does that then transfer to the children? Something else that many of us are probably a little bit more familiar with, at least from a pop cultural perspective, is crack and the crack baby. So we know that the parents that smoke crack, father and mother, can then pass that down to the child, and the child can either be born with active crack addiction or withdrawal, or then have those symptoms show up in other forms in the body, other forms later in life. So yeah, can you heal your bloodline? Absolutely. Can you prevent things from passing down into your children? Absolutely. But you absolutely would have to be God. You would have to be perfect to ensure that nothing, how many times have we heard the parents say, I don't know where that child came from. I know that child came out of my womb, but she don't think like me. We ain't nothing alike, and it's not always a negative thing. You had that child that's born that's specialized in math and so smart in science, and she's already in her second year college, in the 11th grade, and this, it's a lot of powerful Black women out there with great intellectual powers. And so that's passed down. But there's also then that trauma, that abuse. We look at great goddesses like Iyanla Vanzant. Iyanla Vanzant has publicly shared her dark side, has publicly shared her shadow work. So whether you like her or not, or if you think she's great as a therapist or not, acknowledge her doing the work and doing the work out loud, out in public. And then having a child, keeping in line with your question, Sterling, who might be totally vibrating from the other parent's genealogy, or one particular parent from the other parent's genealogy, which is why I'm the only sibling that has diabetes. None of my other siblings have diabetes, as far as I'm aware of. So, yeah, you could do a great deal of work. You could do a great deal of cleanup, but don't expect perfection. It would be like you then cleaning up the entire world on your own and by yourself. It's a great dream. It's a great idea. But it's something that only the God itself, the God or goddess of the universe itself could say, if I could just clean it up for everybody, for all of humanity. But do you? Sterling, give me a moment. I'm going to come back to you, beloved, because there are other people, more so than normal, on the phone lines right now with their hands raised. So I do want to address everyone in a timely manner. Area code 610. 610. Who's calling and where are you calling from, 610?
Shayla, I'm calling from Pennsylvania.
Peace and blessings, beloved. How are you in the PA?
I'm doing good. I have a question. What type of questions can we ask?
Spirituality, religion, voodoo. How can I help? If you're called, wait. If you're calling about a reading, then please follow the instructions that Kiona has given in the chat. Send your $45 donation, and I'll be more than happy to do a reading for you on air.
Okay.
But people are asking questions that are not necessarily reading related. Kiona was the only one that I actually did a reading for. So what's your question?
Okay. My question is that, do voodoo love spells really work? And if so, how long does it take?
Listen, spells work. Not just voodoo love spells. Spells work. My problem with spell is spells can be temporary. Spells can be illusionary, meaning it looks good for a certain amount of time. But when that's happening, you have to be addressing the work. So often, I'm going to assume you're not talking about me. I'm assuming you're talking about in general or other voodoo practitioners. Yeah. And then I'm going to bring it back to me. With me, I'm going to start with me. You have to address the root. You have to. How can you guarantee success in ritual spell work without guaranteeing the ultimate outcome and not expecting it to be temporary? You shouldn't have to run from practitioner to practitioner. You shouldn't have to do it more than once. You shouldn't have to keep doing it over and over and over again. So if the practitioner is not doing qualified divination, That's a must. There's no way to do ritual work without a divination. It would be like calling up your gynecologist and having her send you some kind of medication in the mail without ever having seen you, without ever having drawn your blood, without ever having done any kind of examination on you. You would say that's crazy, and you'd hang up the phone. Okay, so if ain't no reading been done, if ain't no authoritative consultation been applied, then where are they drawing so-called ritual work from? Another aspect of that, beloved, that you didn't say, but people are running into is sort of the recipes that are all over the internet, that are in the book. Oh, well, you need apples and you need honey and you need this and you need that, and they're not speaking about powers at all. They're not speaking about deities, how these deities work, how they pull from these powers, and how that then goes into spell work, particularly for love and relationships. We're talking about humanity here. Often the requests that are on the table happen longer than overnight. It took maybe months to develop, maybe years in cases of marriages and relationships and divorces, and then the new love, the love that hasn't happened maybe, but the practitioner is promising you some magical outcome between you and someone who haven't even developed a foundation. All of those things would send up red flags for me first, before I would even pursue hiring that person, giving an offering or donations to that person to do any kind of ritual work, and particularly for love and relationship. Now, we're talking about humanity here. And typically I would say 30 to 90 days. 30 to 90 days. Even in this weather, I would expect to see some kind of confirmation, some kind of reverberation back from the experience itself, from the parties involved, in terms of the work being done, being addressed. 30 to 90 days. Now, the idea that, and I know you didn't say this, and I'm being just a little entertaining right now. The idea that I'm going to fix it, repair it, y'all going to get married and have babies in 3 months, that's just not realistic. And so I would expect that from the 17-year-old, 18-year-old, sometimes even a 21-year-old who might be seeking some kind of ritual work. But if I'm talking to people who are 30 and over, who've made the 33rd and over, 33, 34, 35, 50 and over, then you should have a much more mature approach to what love and relationships is, to what the development of a relationship is. So their expectation of result is very different. So they want to see, okay, they weren't calling, now they're calling. We weren't able to communicate before, now we can communicate. Now we're communicating. Before, all we could talk about was the kids. Now we can talk about the kids and our relationship. There has to be a progression of movement when the work is happening. Also, there's nothing magical, just like if you went to the doctor, that here, take this pill, poof, be gone. Even in the realm of spirituality, there's no such thing. The doctor might say, take this pill, drink plenty of water, reduce your intake of certain fats. We need you to exercise. We need you to do this therapy. He's going to give you some homework. Now, everybody don't follow the homework. We know that. Some people got lung problems and you still smoking. Smoking cigarettes. Some of you got issues going on and you still can't put down that pack and a half of Cools every day. So you can't bring that mindset to spirituality and religion. God's gonna fix it. Oshun gonna fix it without me having to do anything, without me having to change or adjust what I'm doing. I also find that in doing that kind of work, particularly love and relationships, if the client in their mind believes that this isn't real, this isn't possible, this isn't happening, that can affect the work. That can affect the work. So everybody has to be honest. The practitioner has to be honest. The person seeking the work has to be honest about where they are, what has happened, and what are we now trying to fix and repair. What is the result that you expect to see? So I find that to be, in most cases, very mature from people in my age group, your age group, and older. So 30 to 90 days, boo. 30 to 90 days. And if it's not moving forward, I had to look at God, who cannot be overwritten. That should have been laid out in the initial reading. If God is even with this, is destiny even behind this relationship? Are the ancestors with this or against this relationship? That's why the divination has to take place first. A qualified divination. So if things are not moving, let's say the work is real. Let's say you're working with somebody who's absolutely 100%. Destiny, God, ancestors, and then the two of you. I would then look at what are you doing in relationship to the work, and what is your expectation of the response from the other person involved in the work. Because as you can imagine, the other partner is not even always involved in the work. The person who contacts me wants work done, but the person that's involved in the relationship don't even know it's work being done. So that has to be taken into account, and that has to be tested. That has to be tested, early on. So I still say, caller, I know you told me your name. Forgive me, beloved. Shauna, 30 to 90 days. Shana, 30 to 90 days to see some kind of if not the result, some kind of response, some kind of confirmation. So maybe he said, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and then, okay, so you should be seeing that progressive move. But if ain't nothing happening, and you didn't ask me to read your work, so I'm not going to read your work. But as an empath, I feel your heart. You had to stand still with this. You don't know whether you wasted your time or your money right now, and I don't blame you. I don't blame you. So get some clarity. What exactly are we doing again? You should be able to ask him these questions. What exactly are we doing again? How exactly are we approaching this? And if that don't jive, you might have a problem on your hands, Shane.
Okay. Thank you so much. 816 is calling in, and they've already sent in the donation for a reading.
What's their area code?
816.
Oh, area code 816. Divine, all blessed, greetings and salutations. Who's calling and where are you calling from, beloved?
Hello?
Yes, who's calling and where are you calling from, beloved?
Oh, my name is Candace. I'm calling from Missouri.
Yes, beloved. You
Hello?
Yes, beloved. You had a question or a comment?
Oh, I submitted a donation for a reading.
Yes, beloved. And how can I help you? You haven't said anything.
Sorry, I didn't know how it worked.
You haven't said anything.
Okay. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to start talking or not.
Stop for a second, because you just corrected me, and I like that. I needed that correction. What I just heard you say was me and Kiona weren't clear, and I appreciate that. So let me be clear, not just for you, but for everybody listening. If we were reading in real time, you would be here in the room, right? You would be sitting in front of me across the table, right? I would shuffle the cards, and then you would shuffle the cards. I would shuffle the cards maybe, and I would say, beloved, please shuffle these cards for me. Now, if we were doing a more indigenous voodoo or Ifa divination, you've got to breathe on the table. You got to breathe on the Lord. So I'm not asking you to give me all your details. I'm not asking you to give me your story, and never give the reader all your details. I need to know why you're calling. I need to know why are you here. I need to know what is it that you need to hear from Spirit. So go ahead.
Okay. All right. So basically I've been on my spiritual journey for maybe about a year or two. This is something very new for me. And normally I come from, working on my own, working in corporate America. And I feel like I was led to, I know I was led to start reading tarot and also helping other people, which is something that I've always done in my life anyway.
Beloved, what's your name again?
Yes. Candace.
Candace. You giving me way too much. You giving me way too much detail. I don't need.
What do you want me to tell you?
I need to know why you here. I need to know why are you here.
Okay, so
what are we reading?
I was just trying to give you background. So this is what I'm calling.
Stop. I don't need that. Hold on. Please don't make me mute you. Listen to me. I don't need background. I need to know why are you here? What is your question? What do you need to hear from Spirit? Okay. See, what you're doing is leading the reader. I'm not listening to all of that. If I listen to what you're saying, then I'm only going to give you a response based on what you're saying. That's not why you're here. You want to hear from Spirit. So what is your question? What is your question?
Okay. So I guess my question is, since I am reading people and I'm helping people, and I know this is a part of my life purpose, I'm not very clear about a lot of things, but I know that Spirit leads me, and I don't really know a lot of facts. I just kind of go off of my intuition with everything, and it's led me to a very, very prosperous lifestyle that I'm living now. And I guess I just want to know what Spirit has to say to me about what I'm doing here, my life purpose.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
Because your ancestors are all up and through the room.
Yeah.
I try to give you the opportunity to clarify your question without you adding detail to it. And you still
I'll be out there pretty soon.
Hello?
I'll be out there pretty soon.
Who's that talking?
Hello?
Okay, I'm sorry, beloved. I got to close all these other mics because I'm getting a whole lot of background noise.
I'll be out there
but I'm not sure who it's coming from. Hold on, Crystal. I'm sorry. Okay, that's Shayna. That's Shayna with all of that. That's Shayna with all of that background noise. Okay, Crystal, are you with me?
Okay.
Are you with me, Crystal? Are you with me, Crystal?
Crystal. Oh, my name is Candace.
I'm sorry, Candace. I thought you said Crystal. Your area code is 816, right?
I'm in Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay. Your area code is 816, right?
My area code is 816, okay. And my name is Candace.
All right, thank you. I'm just trying to clarify that. I had to go back and close mics because I'm getting all this background noise, and I didn't want it to interrupt your reading. So what I'm saying is, I'm going to read your question, your cards, and answer your question authentically. It's not my opinion. It's not what I believe. It's not what I think. Now, what I was prefacing that with before I heard the background noise was, you gave me way too much information. And I warned you against
right.
That. You said things that...
Well, I talked to a lady, so I'm sorry, I talked a lot.
You said things that you expect me now as a reader to accept. That's why I told you, don't give me all that detail. Don't give me all that information. I read tarot. I'm a tarot reader. You shouldn't have said that. And now that's on the table. Now that's on the table. Now your first card is a 2 of Cups upside down. 2s are about partnerships, relationships. If this was a love and relationship reading, that would be the card that I would be looking for. But it's upside down. It's inverted, suggesting things that are not entirely in your control. Things that are controlled first by God or the goddess, the divine creators, destiny, and we believe the divine creators write destiny. So it's always in your best interest, even if you can't see it, even if you can't hear it, even if you can't understand it in the moment. But your inverted cards are also influenced by other people getting involved in your reading. Other people, humans who can affect the ultimate outcome of the reading. So right away, we're looking at a partnership that's not in balance. We're looking at a relationship that's not chemically, fluidly, spiritually in balance. Your cups in a regular deck of cards would be your hearts, happiness, longevity, overall sense of well-being, stability, and the things that make you, just as you try to say, I'm living this prosperous life. That would be your cups, but it's upside down. And you might be living a great life, but you're not in control. It's not because you're doing something specifically that's making it happen. Your ancestors are
right. I guess that's my question. Right. I guess that's my question because I know
your ancestors are holding it together. I want to be clear. You want to hear from spirit. You want to hear from spirit because you want to hear from spirit, right?
Yeah, because
okay, hold on. I'm being a little facetious because you keep interrupting.
Okay.
So you want to hear from spirit, or do you have something to say?
I thought you told me to talk. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't tell you to talk. I didn't tell you to talk. I said, why are you here? What is the basis of the reading? That I didn't say talk. I said, why are you here? What do you want spirit to say to you right now? And you went into your spirit path. You went into your spirit path.
Okay.
But in the process,
yeah,
you try to paint this picture that you want me to accept. See, I don't know you from Adam. I don't know you to be no tarot reader. I don't know how well you're doing or not doing. All you want from me is an authentic, organic reading. You would much rather me not know anything about you and then give you what spirit would say. I don't know where she went. She disappeared on me. So the first card is upside down. It's showing an imbalance. It's showing a relationship that is not making you happy. That's not giving you satisfaction. That's not feeding your wholeness. I'm going to have to complete your reading without you, beloved, unless you call back. I don't know where she went, Kiona, but she's gone all of a sudden. Let me unmute Kiona. Okay, Kiona, your mic is open. I don't know where she went, so if you can help me out with that, check chat or something.
Okay.
But I'm gonna keep going on with the reading. Okay. What follows this upside down or inverted to a
20 seconds?
Oh wow, she ain't got a long time to call in either. What follows this upside down Two of Cups is a Knave of Rods, and the Knave always suggests either babies, children, infants, in a real world literal sense, or things that are new in their infancy or just beginning. He's holding the rod. Some readers call that a wand. That's the homework sign.
60 seconds.
How do I fix it? How do I repair it? How do I change it? How do I focus my power, my energy at a thing? That rest, she's back. That rest, I think she's back. Hold on. Area code 816?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you for coming back. I was worried that you wasn't going to be able to get back in because they're going to prevent you from using the phone in like right now. So don't hang up, okay? Because I want you to be able to respond. So your name either speaks to a baby, a child specifically, or something that's new in its infancy or just beginning. And in this case, he's holding the rod, the wand, the homework sign. How do I fix it? How do I repair it? How do I change it? And your question was specific to, I'm doing thus and so. I don't have a whole lot of facts. I'm kind of following my spirit. What does spirit have to say about that? That knave shows you being brand new. And you said that. I've been doing this about a year and a half. It shows you operating in brand newness. And so if we isolate just these two cards, the upside down two of cups, and now this knave of rods in his right position, it would show someone having formed a relationship unprepared, without all the necessary information, without all the necessary tools. That's your knave of rods. The knave of rods is followed by the 10 of pentacles. 10 is my God number. That's God. That's the goddess. That's destiny, which none of us can override, overpower, nor will we want to. Destiny is always in your best interest. God is always in your best interest. It also speaks to what you said about prosperous. Your pentacles, some readers call it a coin. That's your money, your stuff, your housing, your car, your credit, the literal value, if you will, of your question, what you breathed on the board. But at a deeper level, it's speaking to class, status, lifestyle, family value. Now, this is on the left side of the board. So this helps me to build a foundation for moving forward, a foundation to where we are right now, and how do we then advance forward. And the fourth card, I often call that my vertebrae or my backbone card in a 7-card throw. It holds the entirety of the reading together, no matter how many questions you ask, how many things you need clarified. Now I'm looking at the Ace of Pentacles, the Ace of Pentacles. And the Ace is the most selfish card in the deck. No matter what the question is, it's the most selfish card in the deck. Now, often it's not toxic, it's not negative. It's about self-care, self-awareness, self-preservation, doing what's in one's own best interest. But we're looking at a value card, a pentacle, your money, your stuff, your credit, your car, your housing. Is that the extent of what you do? Is there not ministry attached to what you do? Is there not purpose attached to what you do? Go ahead. Is that Kiona or is that Candace? Candace?
I think that was me.
Candace?
Yeah, if I can speak for me.
Please do.
Yeah, this is Candace.
Please do.
I don't want you to think that was the basis of my question. It's just that everything is taking off kind of fast for me. And I don't have a lot of clarity about why my life is moving so fast in this way. Even though I know that I have been called, I'm just moving so fast and it's hard for me to grasp a hold of what is going on.
Okay.
Really, that's really what I'm calling.
Listen, I hear you clearly. I've been doing this 40 years. I'm in my mid-50s. I hear you clearly. I heard your question clearly. And I tried to give you an opportunity to fix it, to clean it up. But you spewed it out there. This looks singular. This looks selfish. This looks like a path that's only about yourself. The money attached to it, the material stuff attached to it, the lifestyle that's attached to it, the look that's attached to it. You suggested, I'm new. I don't have a lot of information. I don't have a lot of training. That's on the board. A relationship formed brand new with very little information to go on, very little guidance. So from the perspective of your guides, this ain't my opinion. That's why I asked you not to give me all those details. This is what's on the board. From God's perspective, from destiny's perspective, from the ancestors' perspective, yeah, you're doing great if all you care about is yourself. If all you care about is how much money am I making? Where is the ministry? Where is the work? And that's implied in your question. I don't have guidance. Where should I seek your elders? Seek people who are already in position. Seek systems that are already in place, and then get some clarity about what it is that you're doing. This is your destiny. This is your destiny. But I compare it to me being able to play the piano at 3, at 4, at 5, by ear. All I had to do was hear the song, like the song enough to want to learn the song, and just hear it 4 or 5 times. And then I could play it by ear, but that's mimicking. That's not someone who knows how to read music, write music, who know what the musical notes on the paper mean. You understand? So you are pulling from intuition. You are pulling from spirit. But this is somebody who's pulling without any guidance whatsoever, and who might only be focused on what's material, what's physical, what's carnal, and not the deeper stuff. What lies deeper? What's on the right side of the table is a 6 of rods, a king of pentacles inverted or upside down, followed by a 6 of coins in its upright position. Now your number 6s, beloved, that's my leadership number. That's the person who is the boss, who is the head, who should be in charge, who very well might be independent, self-employed, doing for herself. Much of what the picture you tried to paint for me in your question, that's on the table. But the rods represent the homework, the study, the practice, being mentored, being initiated, doing the book work, doing the laboratory work. Those are your rods. Rods show up in career, education, how we earn our living, and then personal life path choice. And it's a blessing if how you earn your living, like me, mirrors and matches and lines up perfectly with who I am. Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
But your 2 of Cups is upside down. It's almost as if this thing that's working for you is in opposition to what's really going on in your life. And listen, I'm trying to be respectful. There are things that I can see, that I can hear, that I can't say out loud on air. You wouldn't want me to, but check your peer group. Make sure that, say that again.
What do you mean, like friends? Like friends?
So,
and,
no, repeat what you repeat what you said.
Well, most of the time, I spend a lot of time alone, and like you said,
you didn't have time to say.
Care of my
you didn't even have time to say all of that. All I said was check your peer group, and then you said
that. I'm sorry. When you ask me something, and you tell me don't say nothing, it's confusing. So I'm sorry.
Beloved, hear my question, and then respond. You're interrupting before you even hear my question. What I started saying was, I said, check your peer group. And then you interrupted me to say what? What did you say?
I don't know. I just wanted you to clarify what you meant by peer group.
But that's not what you said. You didn't interrupt me and say, could you please clarify what you, that's not what you said. Do you even remember what you said?
No. What I said was, I don't have a peer group.
There you go. There's the truth. There's the truth. There's the truth. And so now that's my.
Are you talking about friends, sir? Are you talking? That's what I'm saying. Are you talking about friends? Are you talking about family? Because like I said, I've devoted my life to people, and honestly, my family will tell you that every single day I'm here and I'm listening to other people, and I'm always there for people every day. So when you say that what I'm doing is selfish, I would disagree with that, because I put other people's needs in front of mine every day, all day. And the reason why I asked about what is happening, because I know that my ancestors are leading me. They are leading me. But the thing is, it's going so fast. So I wanted to know, as far as my destiny, I know that what I'm doing is right. I know that, because I'm helping people, and I'm also helping my own bloodline. I was able to find my own grandmother after 40 years.
Why you need me?
I'm doing
Why you need
but
me?
I don't have a lot of
Why you need me? Why are you here? You are expert reading. What you need a reading from me for? Why are you here? I said, check your peers, and you took that and ran. And then you asked, well, did you mean this peer? Did you mean? And you still never gave me a chance to say. Not one moment. And I let you talk, because everybody who's witnessing this right now, I want you to go back and listen to it in the archive again. All I said was check your peers. You are doing what I suggested from the very beginning, beloved, that you not do. You came already with a picture painted of who and what you think you are. And you want me now to confirm?
No, I'll ask you. I think it's gonna mute again. It's gonna mute me again, so.
Yeah, because you keep talking over me. You keep talking over me to tell me how great you are. And I asked you, why did you come? What did you want to hear from Spirit? Now, that don't mean you have to agree with Spirit. That don't mean you have to like it. That's part of growing up. That's part of being a mature spiritualist of any practice, of any tradition. But based on what you said, how you worded your questions, even after I kept saying, beloved, you give me too much detail. Beloved, don't say that. And every time I unmute your mic, you give me more details about how fabulous you are as a reader. So why do you need my opinion? Why do you need to hear from Spirit? Because I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not here to confirm anybody's reality of how witchy they are, of how psychic they are. If I ain't never had no reading from you, where's your public record of you giving readings and you providing this wonderful, fabulous service? And I come back to my original question. You don't want to hear me. You don't want to hear from Spirit. You just want to talk. That's why I stopped to allow you, Candace, to talk. And all you're telling me is, I'm doing so fabulous, but I ain't got no direction. Can you help me? And I'm trying to give it to you. I'm trying to give it to you. And you won't let me. You won't let me. I'm telling you what's in front of my face on the board. I see somebody with destiny on their side. I see somebody with leadership potential. I see somebody moving, just like you said, quickly and fast ahead, but so fast that she's not willing to listen to nobody talk. She's not willing to absorb somebody who's been doing this for 40 years. And every time I try to give it to you. I think that's why, can you hear me? I think we can all hear you. We can all hear you.
Oh, okay. Because you keep going back and forth and say muted and unmuted. But if you ask me why I called in, it's honestly because I do watch your show and I do respect what you do. So I asked these questions because I wanted to know what you get from Spirit. But do I need you to, to tell me that, I'm a selfish person and that what I'm doing is just not good?
Would you rather I lie? Would you rather I lie? Would you rather I lie? Would you rather I lie to you?
So people that are telling you that I'm helping their lives, that's wrong. That's not right.
Where is your legal public record of operating in spirituality and religion? Where is the record of your clients, all the clients that you're trying to convince me right now that you've done so much wonderful work for? Where is the footprint of that?
The people that I'm assisting and that I'm helping.
Okay, okay. Where is the public record of that? Where is the public record of that? Where are their comments and ratings of your work?
Listen, I don't like doing debates, and I know that in our community we like to do a lot of debating. So I'm going to let you speak. Well, actually, if the reading is over, I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect because I don't do a lot of reading, and I don't like to have to. That doesn't help. I just really wanted to hear your insights because, like I said, you are a wise person. But
I'm glad. Listen, beloved, I'm glad you called. I'm glad you called. Listen, I'm glad you called. I'm glad that this is recorded and on tape, visually and audibly, so that everyone can go back and listen to it. Okay, I've been very clear. A lot of debates. I know that I'm not here to debate. I'm not here to debate. I appreciate you. I'm not here to debate. I'm not here to debate. You're debating. I'm not here to debate. We offered you a reading, not a debate. We offered you a reading. And in the course of that reading, I asked you, don't give me any details. Don't give me any details because I'm not here to confirm what you might think or already believe. That would be my opinion. That ain't a reading. That would be my opinion. You asked me to go into spirit based on your question, and I gave it to you. And your demonstration right here, you're not trying to hear me. You're not trying to understand my position. You're determined that I came in already magical. I just need you to confirm that. I'm confirming someone who's probably 26 years old, who's been exposed to this practice, this culture, just like you said, for a year and a half or two, who's never had any kind of training. And it's on the board. And my question was, where's your public record? I have a public record. Where's your footprint of the people that you suggest you're helping? You've done such great work for. Where's that public record? I'm registered at the Better Business Bureau. Are you? Where is the record that I can pull up of your clients saying, wow, she did great things for me? You don't introduce that kind of information in a reading. You don't introduce that kind of information in a reading. and then expect me not to respond to it. Keon, are you with me, beloved?
I'm here. A lot of times, the people don't realize. A lot of spiritualists do not do readings to people who are new on this path for that very reason. When you go into a reading, there's proper protocol. You're only supposed to give, in most cases, not on this particular platform, but if it's one-on-one, your name and date of birth. And then you shut up. Spirit is moving. Spirit knows you. If you're coming from the magic book, it says that I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. Hush. You have to be a student first.
And she said that. I'm a student. Quiet. She didn't use that word, but she said, I don't have a lot of direction, a lot of guidance. But now you a master reader and I somehow crossed the line with you? Oh my God.
She operated from ego, but I'm telling you, once she gets the proper training,
she's gonna be powerful. It's on the board. She got great.
She's gonna be powerful and change life, but she gotta learn first. And she can't come in saying that she knows because you have intuition. No. That's intuition, that's amazing. But when you go operating in divination, it's protocol. No, you can't do that. And then she changed the whole energy. She was in the presence of spirit, and she behaved like that.
And she shut me up. Every time I talk, she cut me off. Every time I try to get clear,
she doesn't even realize that she turned her back on her ancestors. She turned her back on her spirit guide. She don't even understand what she just did. She don't even understand that she showed her ass in front of her spirit guides and her ancestors. Don't do it. It wasn't about you. They were speaking. She was showing disrespect to them, not you. It ain't about you.
I'm not.
She showed her entire ass in front of them, and then she walked out on them. Don't do that.
Yeah, I'm not offended. I'm not offended. Area code 912. Who's calling and where are you calling from? Area code 912.
Hi, Your Highness. Can you hear me?
Just barely. Speak up.
No. Oh, okay, can you hear me now?
Yes. Who's calling? Where are you calling from?
This is Kimberly Necktie calling from Savannah, Georgia.
Hey, how you doing, Kimberly?
Hey, sweet. I just had 2 dreams about you back to back before. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get to the question. I just want to let you know the 2 dreams I had last night. You had a church in both of them.
Wow, that's powerful. I appreciate that
confirmation. I don't know if
No, probably is that you were at the podium and everyone was in a beautiful African dress. And you were, it was like a first day opening and celebration.
Well, I'm grateful.
In big church, right?
Yes, indeed.
I hope that manifests.
Yes, indeed. I accept it. I receive it. It's already in motion. It's our
yes.
What I need is coming to me right now. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Did you have another question or comment?
Yes, I wanted to know, it's kind of a dark area. Should I take my older sister to court and sue her? She is the executor of my deceased mom's property. There's 3 of us. I'm the baby. And she sold an entire house behind me and my other sister Heather's back. Mm-hmm. There's been some things she's been hiding. Mm-hmm. And Heather wants me to pray about it.
Yeah.
I'm mad. I'm the poor one, you know?
Yes, I understand.
I'm mad.
I do. And to answer your question directly, yes, absolutely. Your first card out the gate is the Ace of Swords. The Ace of Swords. And again, my aces are the most selfish card in the deck. Do for self. Self-care. Oh, wow. Look out for your own best interest, but it's upside down. Suggesting you have not been fighting for your own best interest. Suggesting that others have, and that's why you sort of are in this legal bind, you know, with your sister. It's followed by the Knight of Rods. Some readers call that a wand. That is my homework sign. How do I fix it? How do I repair it? How do I change it? How do I go about it? How do I direct or point my energy at a thing? And this Knight often represents real physical movement. Moving in, moving out, moving away. Some sort of transfer or commute. And it's followed by the 3 of Swords, inverted or upside down. And again, your upside down cards are being directed by God and destiny, but also your sister and other people that might be involved in the reading. And these 3 cards help me to establish the foundation coming in, the basis coming in to the reading. 3 is also my offensive leadership number. Things that are predetermined, well thought out. You didn't dreamt about it. You've envisioned it. So these representing you absolutely taking action, moving on what you already know, what you've already anticipated, that I'm really gonna have to sue my sister. She just ain't gonna do this right. She's just not gonna do this, you know, on love. She's just not gonna do it because it's the right thing to do. You are going to have to sue her. What's not going to change is the emotional back and forth between the 2 of you. In the 4th position is the 8 of Cups, inverted or upside down. And that number represents things that are consistent, persistent, blocked, stagnant, or don't change. So to the left is sort of this legal back and forth y'all been going through, over the house, over the property, over the land. And who is occupying the land? Because I'm seeing somebody either moving.
Nobody. No, it's sitting there molding everything Mama worked for.
Oh, wow.
Just molded, you know?
Yeah.
She wanted me to have her car. The car is sitting in the yard rotting. What did that benefit? It's fine. You know? And she thinks she's God's right hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
God told me this. God told me that. She's a fake Christian.
And
listen, religion and spirituality is a powerful thing, and especially with us, with Black people, and in our community. And we heard the voice of God, and we heard spirit, and we heard ancestors, and then we look at the demonstration, the behavior, that people demonstrate, not understanding that they're clear. Their true intention is crystal clear. Their true motivation is not hidden, particularly from people like you and I. So the Queen of Pentacles that follows this Eight of Cups suggests a whole pattern that is broken by you taking legal action, legal authority. And there's something that binds the two of you together. I'm sure it's because you are sisters, and to some degree it's in the wording. It may be in the wording of the will that your mother left, which helps you support.
I can't even see the will.
What you mean you can't see it?
I don't know how, but she won't let me.
You have to have an attorney. Once you get an attorney that files the appropriate paperwork, those documents have to be revealed to you. They have to, but you can't force it without either knowing the law on your own or hire an attorney. Most people don't know enough about the law, so we hire an attorney to sort of go in and fight for us. But I'm sure there's a clause, especially if you're the biological descendant, there's got to be a clause that allows you to see and have access to. The Queen is followed by an inverted or upside down Two of Swords. And that represents the partnership, the relationship between you and the sister. And so there's something legal on paper that ties you together, that you need to investigate, that you need to bring forward in order to ultimately win what's right to you, what's owed to you. What follows is a Three of Rods. This is your second number 3 in the 7 cards. That is offensive leadership. It's also my homework sign. So without you making a move, without you seeking to protect your rights, you're going to continue to lose with her. There is something in the paperwork that she does not want you to see, but she expects that you don't have enough wherewithal
that I won't investigate it. That's what people tell me at my job. She's hoping you don't look into it.
Right.
For all you know, you probably could have been married in the house.
And you can't be fearful of the law. You can't be fearful of, it's big words and big language. You can't be fearful of none of that. And you can't really be fearful of the idea that it might be really expensive for you to get legal protection. All it requires is you to look and be aggressive enough to look. And you'll find the right legal team that is either going to be free, pro bono, or it's not going to be brutally expensive to sort of help you to figure this out. I would look in your community. I would look at community-based organizations, and then ask if they have an attorney. Does an attorney work on your staff? And the reading predicts that you find that information and that you secure, because nobody can give a reading about the future but without being able to tell what the person that's being read will or will not do. And so I see you doing the homework. I see you online. I see you investigating. I see you going from attorney to attorney, and then finding the one that totally gets it and wants to help you to uncover what's hidden. Your name is in that document. There's no other reason she would conceal it from you. There's no reason she would keep it hidden from you. You understand?
Thank you so much. I just love you to death. I really do.
Well, I'm here for you.
Oh, thank you guys so much.
Thank you for calling in, Kimberly. I'm here for you. Area code.
Oh, I was going to say.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Can we still send gifts to the Domain Street address?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Can we still send gifts to the Domain Street address in New Orleans?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm not moving. I'm not moving. The owner of this house ain't moving. We're not going anywhere. But thank you kindly. I appreciate that. Area code 254. Please forgive me, 254. I know we're running out of time. I'm just now opening your mic. Area code 254. Who's calling and where are you calling from? 254, did you have a question? I guess not. You just lowered your hand. All righty. Moving right along. Shayna, you're still with me. Sterling is still with me. Of course, Kiona is still with me. And 254, if you change your mind and you have a question, just press the number 1 and raise your hand again, and I will open your mic. I'm also grateful for those who've been with us in the chat. Can Be the Light, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate your comments. It's not a debate. It's not an argument. You know, when I'm doing a reading, it's spirit. And once humans get involved, me or the person I'm reading, the connection is done. It's closed. So, but I appreciate you. I do, in your comments. I do. All is a blessing. Kiona, am I missing anything in the chat, beloved?
No, everything has been covered. You know, just want to, thank the spirit guides and the ancestors for showing their presence and showing up. People have to also realize is that when divination is taking place, it may not necessarily be today. Also, as you say every day, when you're operating from a place of ego, you're operating from a very dangerous place. You never exalt yourself above spirit and ancestors. Never. Never say how much you help anybody. You ain't help nobody do nothing. The ancestors bless you with everything you got, even your breath, even the blood that runs through your veins. You haven't done nothing. You are a servant. You have to understand first and understand first and submit to your calling. Otherwise, this life will drag you to your bones. This is not a game. Just because you have intuition, it was given to you to be a gift to humanity. Don't ever say, "Oh, I help many people." I'm like, you ain't help nobody. You were gifted to be able to give and be a blessing. Walk in that, but first be a student. When the divine person tells you what was experienced as an adolescent and what was experienced all the way up through adulthood, that wasn't a game. People committed suicide because of what they went through, because of homelessness, because of being ostracized. You gotta come on. You can't be like that.
I never give a fake reading ever. I'll never give a reading based on my opinion ever. Ever. I read from spirit. Once humanity gets into it, it's done. It's over. The connection is done. If I can't hear from spirit without interrupting it, or you can't hear from spirit without interrupting it, it's done. Say that again, beloved.
To say that you've done anything to help somebody, that's already ego.
Yeah. I don't want to keep harping on that, but she validated what I said about that Ace of Pentacles. Right then on the spot. She confirmed it. And that's why I kept going back to your question. What do you want to hear from spirit? Your question, not your story, not your details. And that's how these fake psychics get y'all. Y'all too quick to discuss details, too quick to tell your story and your version of the story. And your version of the story is great, but that ain't why you go to see a reader. That's not why you seek a reader. If you believe and understand and have clarity about your version, roll with your version, beloved. Roll with your power. You don't need me. You don't need my advice. You don't need the intercession. Roll with that. But if somebody says, I want to hear from spirit, I'm so glad this is recorded. How many times did I say that? Get to your question, beloved. Don't give me the details. Get to the question, because I can only give you what spirit says. That's all I can give you. I can't give you any more than that. I can't give you any less than that. My name rides on it. My reputation rides on it. My very vocation as a reader rides on it. So I can't get personal. No, I hear all kind of readings every day that just blow my hair back. Honey, people with all kind of extraordinary sexual lives and social lives and dating lives and business lives, and I can't judge none of that. I can't give my opinion about none of that, not in the context of a reading. Now, when the beloved called about her dream, girl, talk on. She's sharing her dream. She didn't ask me for no reading. She didn't ask me for no spirit confirmation. So those are two different things. Yeah, we can hear you, beloved. Yeah. Shane, I just had to mute you, girl. You know we can hear you. We can hear all about the brush and the kids, and you are live on air. But I just muted you, so you're okay. Listen, we got a few minutes left. I'm going to move forward shortly. I appreciate your questions, your comments, your requests. Please, anyone, please. And particularly about the readings. You know, if you understand it and you get it, I'd like to hear from you. If you don't get it and you thought I went to the left, I would like to hear from you too. You know, and that's why I kept referring back to not only Candace, but Kiona. I'm like, girl, am I crazy? Did I fall off? You know, did everyone else hear how we sort of got to that point in the conversation? Thank God for technology and recording. This is a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. And the success that she speaks of, it's on the table. It's on the table. But also ego stood up in the middle of the table. Ego, carnal, material understanding. You know, people can gather 50,000 followers in Instagram. People can gather 100. I know somebody get 100,000 likes on almost every video. Almost every video. That don't mean it's of content. It might be entertaining. People might enjoy it, you know, but that don't make it life transforming. That doesn't make it hold some gravity. And if you remember, Kiona, earlier in the show, I talked about once we get on camera, once we get online, once we get on Facebook, Twitter, there's an element of entertainment there, whether you want it to be or not. People are either going to see your post as entertaining or not. People are either going to see your post as boring or not. So we ain't got to agree to it. It's just built into what social media is. But that's not why I do readings. That's not why I do consultations. People either want to hear from spirit or they don't. And I will stop talking. I'll get quiet and allow a person to speak their piece, speak their mind. But let me tell y'all a dream that I had. There's a coven of witches in this dream. And they mixed among us in the dream. Some of us were working with them. Some of us were roommating with them. It was a crazy dream. It was like a town of us from this shared sacred space. And then there's this coven of witches. But you couldn't see the witches because we all witches, right? We all spiritual and magical practitioners. But this particular group was hidden among us. So there were no outward visible signs. But just like alien or just like a parasitic entity, they could then inhabit the bodies of other humans and sort of control what they do or not do. And more importantly, not do, because in the dream, they limited the people who they could, the host body they could possess. They limited their clarity, their ability to hear clearly, or to see clearly, or to understand clearly. And no matter how simple the demonstration, no matter how clear, you know, the demonstration, if the human host had been infected by this coven of witches, this is in my dream now, Nothing made sense to them. It was black, they saw white. It's red, they saw green. You know, there was no clarity. So it was almost like a zombie apocalypse, but you didn't know who was infected. Almost like coronavirus. You didn't know who was infected until you reached that point in the transition where the man behind the curtain started showing up. You know, the wiring started showing up. The words weren't in line with the action. So you knew that this person was, you know, a host body, was now zombified and was sort of there and was going through sort of the motions that this coven of witches had infected them with. And it was real scary too, because I couldn't identify, not on the surface, black, white, red, yellow, Hispanic, Asian. There was no outward signs of who was carrying sort of this hidden entity, this hidden spirit, until it came time for clarity. And until we started trying to communicate. And I'm saying, you know, doe a deer, a female deer, ray a drop of golden sun, me a name I call myself, far a longer way to run. And they was like speaking Taiwanese or Cantonese, and it was like no connection. So as we all have been doing, trying to bring clarity to the weather, trying to bring clarity to the coronavirus, trying to bring clarity to sort of the world that we live in right now, that we live in today. Consciousness is being actively tinkered with right now. Hear me clearly. I often refer to it as COINTEL. I often refer to it as, you know, the man behind the curtain, like in the Wizard of Oz. This hand that we don't see. The government says it's Russia. They say it's the Ukraine. I say it's COINTEL, and quite possibly a much bigger entity in which now each and every one of us might be a party to, and influencing what is truth. What is truth? What is the reality? And so I exist in truth, absolute truth. I'd much rather go through the fire. I'd much rather hear the hard news. I'd much rather know the dark, shadowy information so that I can confront it, so that I can eliminate it, so that I can rise up and be the God and the goddess that the Creator's divined us all to be. Everything else for me is foolishness. Everything else for me is ego. Entertainment is great. I'm not here to be entertaining. If the show is entertaining, hallelujah. I bobo if the show is entertaining. But that's not why I'm here. That ain't why I'm here. I'm here to speak the truth, to set you on the path of truth, to lead you into your greater truth so that you then can rise. And still I rise, like Maya Angelou. Thank you all for being with me. No one else have anything to say? Come on down. I'm going to shut it down momentarily and move forward. Keon, am I missing something in the chat?
No, it's just that reading what Candace threw us off. Like everybody's at a place of awe right now.
Yeah, and
everybody is.
I would like to say no, that's not the energy, but I guess it is. I welcome the opportunity to speak to it. Candace or anybody else present in the room. But if I can't get to the period on it, you're not hearing me. If I can't get to the sentence on it, you're not here to hear me. You're here to exalt your ego. And none of us are here for that. Not even my own. If I came here and exalted my ego for 3 hours every day, none of you would be here. None of you would be here. My footprint is in the work. My footprint is in the godchildren who have publicly documented what I'm doing with them and for them. Where's your footprint? Where's your footprint? That's all I ask. Don't tell me how great you are and you have no footprint. Don't tell me how many walls you're breaking down and it ain't recorded nowhere. It ain't documented anywhere. That's all. Where's your footprint? Where's the evidence? And right now, who's working? Who's working against the virus? Who's working this presidential election? Who's working the economy with all of your notions of work? Who's working reality? That's what this revolutionary voodoo is about. Who's working reality? Who's working for the freedom and liberation of people of color everywhere? Who's working for the right for a young Black man to jog through his neighborhood and maybe stop and take some curiosity at a construction site for less than 3 minutes? Who's working that? Who's working justice in that? Come on now. Come on. Whew, I'm about to get worked up, y'all, and it's too close to the top of the hour.
Another thing I want to say, something too. A lot of times people read tarot. There are many systems in divination. We all know that. But just because you're able to operate from intuition and first of all, people don't even open a divination properly. Who's speaking? And then if y'all are talking much, as she was doing, how is spirit getting a word in edgewise?
I can't talk, you can't talk, and spirit can't all talk at the same time. And you certainly can't be no, but I said no, but I'm living this way and I need what you come to me for. And I asked that more than once. What is your question? What do you need to hear from spirit? Don't try to convince me how great you are. Beloved, that's every day. That's every day. That's every DM. That's every instant message. That's almost everybody who's on Instagram. Everybody is fabulous and doing it.
People don't know that you actually are, that you have millionaire clients. People don't realize that. You're not on here. You're on here to serve and to help. You don't have to get on here ever. You're on here to help humanity, which is what you agreed to. People have to understand that. But I don't know nothing. I'm a student every day. I'm grateful for every breath that I breathe. Spirit said you need to cut that attachment and get your shit together. We already told you what to do. Then you need to do it, but you can't do it with this because you slow the process down. You had to ask me, was I still here? Am I right or wrong?
Yes.
Yes. And you know I talk too much.
Yes.
I ain't say a word because I know how to perform. I know how to act in divination because I know it.
But you also proved. But
you're vessel, but you're not speaking.
But you also proved one of my points, and I said it at the time of your call. I said you're not saying anything because I'm right on point. People usually don't interrupt. People usually don't interrupt unless they have questions or they want to challenge what's on the board. They want to challenge what's on the board. Now, we weren't doing the kind of reading where you could say, oh, well, that's not factual, or that mirror the nature of my question. And every time she interrupted me, she repeated back to some degree what I said as to what was being represented on the table. She just didn't agree that she was operating in her ego, like a lot of young people under 26 do. Oh, I'm good. I'm 20. I'm good. You know, I've been reading since I was 18. And when people tell me they're a reader, I like to hear more information. Read what? Read what exactly? Keone, you just said that, you know, just because you're a tarot reader doesn't mean you've mastered divination. Just because you're a tarot reader doesn't mean you've mastered tarot. I know people who see these signs and have no clue what they represent, have no clue what they mean. That's why I keep sending y'all back to the secret teachings of the ages, because it's in that book. Card for card, it's in that book. And so now you're reading tarot. You're not reading a person. You're not reading, oh, well, I feel their energy. That's not a tarot reading. That's not a tarot reading. That energy has to go along with the cards. You have to be able to apply, what does this queen mean about you in this moment? What is it saying about your question in this moment? And pentacles represent carnality, material things, physical things, financial things, all the things that she said. I'm doing great. I'm doing excellent. I'm helping so many people. All the things that she said, right? But it was inverted. Suggested you're not even in control of it. I know dope dealers that's doing well. They're not in control of that. They ain't got no real business
Do you
sense.
think people not realize these jinn and demons whisper in your ear? They're on the opposite side too. They can see. These demons will bless you. These jinn will bless you. And man, she playing. You need to learn. This is not for kids.
I know opioids.
These jinn will sit there and tell her about people's whole life.
I know heroin addicts who sit down in the French Quarter, Jackson Square, of course, without the virus, every day and do readings. And swear they know tarot. And swear they in touch with spirit. And like Kiona said, what spirit? What jinn? What devil? Who actually is speaking through you in the reading? And don't keep saying, but I'm understudied. I haven't had a whole lot of experience. I haven't had a whole lot of guidance. And then the minute I repeat that back to you, you shut me down. Then the minute I say, I'm looking at somebody that's really young, that is operating on ego, not on knowledge. Nobody's operating on knowledge under 35. Nobody. Nobody. Whether you're talking about your life, whether you're talking about your job, whether you're talking about your relationships, we going on what we feel, what we know to do, what we think we know to do, and the good advice of people around us. Maybe we step into our wisdom at 40, at 50, at 60. And like you, Kiona, I'm still learning. Every single day, I humble myself to knowledge. Every single day. I had a challenging day yesterday. I had a challenging client yesterday. I went to my elders. I got off that call and went to my elders. Check me. Just like I asked Kiona to do right now. Girl, am I crazy? Is it me? Did I say something wrong? Oh, I'm so glad this is live on air and it's recorded, because if I'm wrong, call me on it. Point me out on it. Oh, well, you could have. But you heard the conversation. I held up the cards.
Nothing is for free.
Okay?
Nothing is for free. You cannot give divination. Everything is give and take. You cannot open a divination and do a divination and then say that you have all these material possessions. What are you giving in exchange?
Go out and celebrate. Well, that's my Blog Talk Radio. I don't get to, do quote unquote normal things. I don't get to celebrate New Year's and Halloween and Christmas. I'm working. I often don't get a weekend. I'm working. Some of you work 9 to 5, 7 days a week, 40 hours a week. You sleep in on Saturday. I can't. I can't. I'm either doing ministry or ministry. I'm either doing consultations or working with initiates that are already in the system that have questions, that need their shrines clarified, that need deeper information. This is not glamorous. There's nothing glamorous about being a reader. Nothing. Nothing. That's why the fortune teller is demonized in pop culture. That's why the gypsies are demonized in pop culture. This ain't cute. This ain't about entertaining. This is about ministry and giving up your life, your body, your emotions, your opinions, so that spirit can enter your vessel and then read and then share information and then forecast and foretell. Your opinion can't come into that. What I think can't come into that. My religious beliefs can't come into that. And many of you in this room have had those readings And you know I say it at least 3-4 times. I ain't here to choose your religion. I don't care. I'm not here to choose what you believe. I don't care. That's not why you come to a reader. You not an authentic reader. You came to hear from spirit. Spirit say you need guidance. Spirit say you need elders. Spirit say you need mature persons in line to show you how things are done. Even if we just talking about business, let's take the spirit stuff out. We're just talking about business. You open in the gas station, you want to know other gas station owners. You want to know who owns 7-Eleven, who owns Costco, who owns, Smart Stop down the street. How do you make your money? Me and a friend, we were going to open a store, a corner store, about 10 years ago here in New Orleans. For the first time, I learned how the corner stores make their money. So you go into the gas station, they selling gas, right? But where do you think they're making the majority of their money? Cigarettes, soda pop, candy, penny candy. So the kids get out of school, they run in there every day. So the teenagers, they run in there every day. You go to fill up, you get your cigarettes, you get your candy, you get your pop, they're not making their money off gas first. They're not making their money off location first. Off these little, and those are the kind of things that you don't learn unless you are in the system. You go behind the counter, and the people who work behind the counter share that information with you. Most stores ain't telling you how they make their money. Most stores ain't telling you what the markup is. I learned at that time that the markup is 300%. 300%. Anything you buy out of the corner store, the gas station store, the convenience store is marked up 300% from what it costs them wholesale. But as a shopper, I didn't know that. As a consumer, I didn't know that. As somebody who just frequents the store, we all been in the store since what? 4 years old, 3 years old, we all been in the store. But how many of us know how a store operates, how a store runs, how they decide who's going to get paid what, how they decide how much that Snicker bar going to cost? Who knows that unless you have business administrative skill, experience, and hands-on teaching and training? You can't get this out of a book. You can't read a bunch of books and say, okay, I'm there, I know it. I'm 26, I'm ready to go. You're deluding yourself. And you're preparing yourself for a big fall. I hope girl is paying her taxes. I hope her paperwork is in order. Uncle Sam is coming. Uncle Sam is coming. This is the first year I've noticed that there was a line in a box on the tax form specifically for internet income. I've never seen that on the check. That's never been there before. You had to be honest, and you had to list that in your itemized tax form. Not anymore. Not anymore. They coming for you, successful. They checking how many times you go in and out, and that's why they want Cash App and right. That's why I ask, where's your footprint? Where's your documented footprint of operating in ministry, of operating in spirituality and tradition, and operating as an advisor legally? You can't do that without a footprint. You can go to my Google business. You can go to my psychic world. You can pull up an old screenshot when I was on Keen, when I was on Live Persons, and you're going to see a footprint. I hired Divine Prince. I contacted Divine Prince for A, B, C, and D, and this was the result. Where's your footprint? Everybody's psychic if you believe Instagram. Everybody's supernatural if you believe Instagram. Everybody's doing it if you believe social media. Everybody doing it. I would love to see your tax papers. I would. I would. I would love to see your footprint. I would. I would. I'm here to birth readers. I'm here to make expert professional readers. So Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. No. I don't even do that. I don't go on people's show and hey, kick the door in. You know, I did Big Frida. I did other big name celebrities. You know, I've never done that. Never would I. It's other shows on Blog Talk Radio that I could get online and hey, I'm the king and leader of New Orleans Voodoo. I'm here for you to confirm that for me. I don't need you to confirm that for me. Not a reader. So let's be clear, y'all. I lost my Blog Talk Radio. You know, sometimes they do that and the technology will cut us off really early. But my video's going and I'm gonna have to pull it to a close here momentarily and get some real food and some hydration. Thank you everybody for being present. Keisha Smith, Neophyte Bocour, Candice, Shauna, Sterling,
Sky Audio,
Kiona, and that's my 3 o'clock appointment. I gotta go, y'all. All is a blessing. All is a blessing.